Good evening. Lovely to see so many of you here. Can you hear me at the back? Okay. If not, move forward. I'm not moving back. I'm going to set little Henrietta here for 20 minutes. So thank you for 20 minutes of your time. I hope at the end you've enjoyed my presentation. When it goes, I will look for nods and shakes. Nods means I can carry on. Shakes means I'm going to stop within 60 seconds. All right. So you know you're not here all night. So my name is Andrew. I'm a GP and I'm a far-right activist. The reason I know I'm a far-right activist is because Sir Keir Starmer told me so. Barrister, trained legal brain, Knight of the Realm, head of the Crown Prosecution Service for 5 years, from 2008 to 13. Now our Prime Minister. Now, if I follow his reasoning, it's because I'm someone who wants a full inquiry into the child rape gangs going on around the country. 40 towns, going on at least 20 years. In Rotherham alone, 1,200 young ladies. He's not interested. I wonder why. As I thought about that, I thought, I really need to understand this. Rather than hearsay, sometimes you can get your information from other people second-hand. Sometimes you can get your information from television programs. So I thought about the whole rape gang thing to try and get close to ground zero as I could. Might have heard of Maggie Oliver. Yeah. I've read her book, spent quite a few hours in there. And my understanding from what I read is that these young ladies, these young girls, have been sacrificed on the altar of conveniency for political purposes so that we don't offend certain communities. It's been not solved, it's been swept under the carpet. And I think it's to our shame as a nation that this is still ongoing and not being solved. Just one story from there, an 11-year-old, what I didn't realise, I learned quite a lot, was that rape under age of 13, a child who has sex has been raped. She cannot give consent. She can't give consent. So when an 11-year-old is pregnant, either she's been raped or it's an immaculate conception. One or the other. So when a social worker then takes her to get an abortion, and the police are aware of this, and they take the fetus away and store it, they have all the evidence they need as to who that father is. Maggie Oliver, she was on ground zero. She was talking to all these ladies for many times. She resigned as a whistleblower in 2012 in disgust at the way in which the higher echelons of politics, in the police, the Crown Prosecution Service, just weren't interested. I think what happened is they thought there might be a few little cases, and as they investigated and the numbers mushroomed, they realised what a can of worms, and they wanted to shut it quickly so as not to offend anybody. A nation that doesn't look after its children is never going to thrive, maybe not even survive. Conservatives, what did they do for 14 years? Nothing. Nada. Zero. What about reform? You might have seen this. Our contract with the people. Let me read a little bit for you. Stop child grooming gangs. Deport offenders holding dual citizenship. Make child grooming an aggravated offence. Improve safeguards of victims and the vulnerable. No bail for child grooming gang offenders. We have to take it seriously. I think it's one of those situations they talk about, don't they? Justice has to be done, but it also has to be seen to be done. And I think for this, us as a nation, this is something where it's really got to be seen to be done. And the current uni party are just not interested. If you want change, you want reform. It's interesting about labels, isn't it? I mean, Sir Keir Starmer, I understand he's a fan of Marx, of the sayings of Marx. Unfortunately, I think he's a bit confused. I think he's more a fan of Groucho Marx. who said, those are my principles, and if you don't like them, I have other ones. So Keir Starmer is so confused, he's wondering whether some women have a penis or not. I think he's a bit like this jellyfish. If you see the things and way he responds to things, he follows the trend. He's not a leader, he's a follower. Black Lives Matter, I'll take the knee. The people really don't like immigration, they've told us for many years, then I'm going to adopt a Nigel Farage, and we're going to do something about immigration. Trans issues. So, a jellyfish, when you squeeze it, it will take the path of least resistance. I reject his far-right label for me, partly because I think he's confused. It took him 5 senior judges to tell him and remind him what a woman was. Labels are interesting, aren't they? I have another label. I'm a beak. Anybody know what a beak is? Any fellow beaks out there? Beak is short for beekeeper. I have about 8 hives sitting on my garage roof. For about 8 years, I've been learning the art of keeping bees. A hive, 60,000 bees in the summer. It's a bit like a nation. How long have humans been around? Homo sapiens, around about 300,000 years. Bees have been around for 100 million years, over 300 times longer than we have. So if you count from 1 to 100, when you get to 29, there's still no humans. When you get to 30, we appear. So we are newcomers when it comes to maintaining a hive and maintaining a group. My bees have got 3 tips for Sir Keir Starmer. Let's take the first one, the easy one, immigration. What do my bees have to say about immigration? Just a quick poll, no one can see you, this is for my benefit, a bit of audience participation. Hands up if you think immigration is a bad thing. Thank you. Hands up if you think it's a good thing. Hands up if you're not sure. Any other options? Yeah. It could be both. Do you know what? My bees agree. My bees agree. It could be both. So for bees, yeah, sure. So bees, what do bees do? Do bees have immigration? Well, they do. So what can happen is you've got your hive, and there's another hive, and I love in the summer to sit there and watch the bees being active, coming and going, the young bees coming out and doing their orientation, flights and all those things. And when you watch the hive entrance, you'll have a little guard bee that will sit there, a few of them. And any bee returning and landing, they'll come forward and they will touch antennae and they will sniff them, because each hive has its own culture and its own smell. And they'll say, welcome back after your long flight, come on in. Okay, welcome home. What happens if a bee not of that hive lands? And that can happen because either they're too close together. As a beekeeper, you've got to get them separated in the right sort of way. And also we call it drift. So if there's sun, they've had a long flight, they're tired, they're coming into land, puff of wind, lands. What does the guard bee do? You're not from here. One of 2 things happens. They either fight, or the bee from that hive lands there, and it says, I mean you no harm. I'm here, I've got gifts. It's been out gathering stuff. Here's some honey. Will you let me join your colony? And the guard bee will say, you've got good things. Come on in. And that bee now becomes part of that colony. It contributes to that colony, accepts the culture and the nature of that hive. And that hive is made stronger. Yeah. Guard bees are our immigration system, our immigration portals. What's not such good immigration then for bees? The name for it in beekeeping is called robbing. What happens if the hive is a bit weak, there's not enough bees, or it's diseased, and they neglect their guarding of their entrance? Imagine a bee comes along and drifts, and it lands there, and it's not challenged. And it comes into the hive, what does it find? Honey! Now, the thing about honey is very valuable to bees. It's their life, it's their energy. It takes 6 bees to make 1 teaspoon of this honey, their whole life. 6 bees for every teaspoon. It's very precious. They fly miles and miles and miles to produce this. Imagine how many bee lives are in there. So when a bee from another colony comes and lands and isn't challenged, it gets into the hive and goes, wow, Aladdin's cave. What does it do? It gorges itself, fat with honey. And when it comes out the hive, it's so heavy, it actually, if it flew out, it would hit the ground. So what they do is they climb up the front of the hive and they kamikaze-like throw themselves into the air to get airborne, and it goes home. What does it do now? It goes back, it's not integrated in the hive, it goes back to it, says, hey guys, guess what? I found honey! Free honey! Come and get all you can eat. And very quick, 1 bee becomes 2, becomes 10, becomes 100, becomes 1,000, becomes 10,000 bees. I've had this happen to my colonies once. Every morning I look out at the hive and I could see them coming and going, orientation flights. I think all is well in the hive. One morning I looked out, whoa, what's going on? The buzz, the noise, I think, are they swarming? No, they're not swarming. Bee suit on, very quick, went up to my rooftop, looked, and I could see hundreds of bees climbing up, leaping off the hive. Bees trying to fight off at the front entrance. I lifted up the lid, whoa, cloud of bees coming out, and I thought, I've read this is robbing. What do I do now? How do you stop robbing? So I quickly Googled it. Anybody know what you do? You throw a bedsheet over the hive and you spray the air with water so the robbers can't find the hive anymore. And bees don't particularly, who likes rain? You go home, don't you? So I stood there for an hour spraying the area with water, and all the bees went home, and by the next morning it had all calmed down. What's our honey? Anybody? It's our welfare state. Yeah? The robber bees haven't contributed to it. Yeah? The robber bees have no interest in the home hive, in integrating. All they want is the honey. Nobel Prize winning economist Milton Friedman, to summarise what he said, you cannot have both a welfare state and completely free immigration. Yeah. So is it good or bad? It depends, doesn't it? People who want to come and contribute, become part of a hive, they're welcome. I know many people like that. Yeah. But when people have unfettered access, who don't want to contribute and just take, the numbers will just keep rising. What is the blanket that we can throw over our nation? Page 3. Can I read it to you? It's quite long. Reform has a plan. What does this sound like when you're thinking of bees? This is the contract. These are the first 100 days. Critical reforms needed. Freeze non-essential migration. Strict limits on immigration. The only way to relieve the pressure on our housing, public services, increasing wages and protecting our culture, identity and values. Essential skills, mainly around healthcare, must be the only exception. Stop the boats, our 4-point plan. Lead the European Convention of Human Rights. Yeah. Zero illegal immigration to be resettled in the UK. If you come, you can't stay illegally. A new Department of Immigration, some guards. Pick up illegal migrants out in the boats and take them back to France. Because clearly they're seeking asylum from France. France is such a state of war. It's just an abysmal place to live, isn't it, really? So you've got to, leave it. Secure detention of all illegal migrants. All asylum seekers that arrive illegally from safe countries will be processed rapidly offshore if necessary. Those entering from a safe country will also be barred from claiming asylum or citizenship. No legal aid for non-citizens. Those rejected will be returned. It goes on. Deportation for foreign criminals. As I read this, I thought, this is a blanket. This is a blanket. The honey. Can't go anymore and get all this free stuff. But people are going to hate it. Yeah, particularly the lawyers who make millions out of all this. Okay. So the first thing my bees can teach us is how to deal with immigration. Unfortunately, we're at the stage where we need a blanket. Second thing can teach Keir Starmer. It's about democracy. It's about how vital free speech is to democracy. With no free speech, we have no democracy. It's autocracy. Is that not under threat? What do bees have to do with democracy? Well, they're a hive of 60,000. Do they send themselves emails, Facebook messages? How do they communicate? Honeybee democracy. Serious? Tom Seeley is a professor. He should know. Yeah, Cornell University over in the US, and he's a beekeeper. And he has studied how bees communicate and how they make decisions. Don't forget they've been around 300 times longer than we have. So they've had a time to figure it all out. So how do bees make decisions? The most important decision a hive will make every year is swarming. Bees multiply by swarming. The old queen goes with half the bees. The remaining bees raise a new queen from an egg. You now have 2 hives. The key question is where do they go and fly to? If they find a poor new home, they die. So they have to make a decision. Now, for you and me, what do we do when we want to find a home? We go to a estate agent, Zoopla, Rightmove, don't we? And we have a list of criteria. We think, well, I'd like a garage, I'd like a jacuzzi, I'd like a swimming pool, I'd like, in your fantasies. So you have a list of things that are ideal, don't you? And you go around and you visit all these things and you think, that's the best fit, I can actually afford that. What do bees do? Well, what he discovered was bees do have an ideal home. It's about 40 litres in size. It has a small entrance, ideally facing the sun, because they want the warming sun when they arrive to keep them warm. It needs to be about 2 metres high off the ground to stop people getting into the hive. So as the bees are looking for a hive, this is what they're looking for. Now, you want to look for a new home, you'll visit one home, you'll visit another one, and you'll compare them. What he discovered is bees don't do that. He did this by actually numbering the bees and then literally following the bees. And what he found is that, and you have the foragers who go out from the hive and gather the honey, some of them, about 300 of them, will become scouts. And their job is to go and look. And when they find a little hollow, they will come back to the hive and using their waggle dance, they'll either be super excited and say, this is super bee res, we definitely want this, or yeah, not so good. And they will try and recruit others to go and visit. And if their bee is recruited and goes and have a look, they'll come back and they might be excited or not excited. So you'll have several conversations going on amongst the bees, 4 or 5 of them. Should go here, we should go here, we should go here. And the one that's got the strongest message wins. About 2 hours before they swarm, that's the place we're going to go. Do you know how well they make the right decision? He discovered when he put out different hives, 99% of the time, they make the best decision for their colony. Honeybee democracy. How does it work? I'm just me. I've just got my life. I don't know everything. Do you know everything? Do you know everything? Do you know everything? So the problem you have is when you've got a dictator who are making all the decisions, they don't know everything. However, if we pool our knowledge and we discuss our experiences, in free speech, we can come to a decision, pooling our collective knowledge, which is what the bees do, using democracy. Isn't it interesting, 200 years ago, thank you Oliver Cromwell, that we discovered what the bees had learned. It's best actually to get people from different places all together to talk about the problems and come to a vote and a final decision where we all go. Isn't that amazing? It's under attack. It's so under attack, isn't it? You can't say anything to offend anybody, but that's free speech. You need the right to offend someone, not to attack them, not to say I'm going to kill you, but the right to say, this is, from my experience, what I believe is important. And you recruit people to your cause. Notice what the bees don't do. They don't sting each other. They don't bite each other. They discuss. And whoever has the best argument wins. Quiz. Who said this? 2021. Put your hands up if you think you know. We can't get any worse than a bunch of scum, homophobic, racist, misogynist, absolutely vile, banana republic, vile, nasty, Etonian pieces of scum. Anybody? Claire Rayner. Very democratic, isn't it? You know, let's talk about arguments and not personalities. When you're doing that, you're actually denying democracy. We listen to the arguments, we don't attack the people. I haven't seen it in reform. We shouldn't be attacking the other sides. Get them with the arguments. Win people to our cause. Show them what we want in reforming all the different parts of our nation that are actually best for everybody. Democracy. One vote. We all go in that direction. The thing that made me really think that we are in trouble as a nation is after the Brexit vote. Yeah. What do the politicians try and do? Oh, we actually know better than you. We're going to try and Brino, Brexit in name only, didn't they? They didn't trust the people. Our politicians don't trust us, but that's how democracy works. The bees have shown us that it works. Isn't that interesting? I don't know everything. Do you know everything? But together, we can get it right. Debanking. Yeah. Cancel culture. All these things are actually very anti-democratic. Yeah. We cannot survive as a liberal democracy with these things ongoing. So, what's in the plan? What's in the plan for reform? Our 100-day plan. Let me read a few of them. It's not as long as the immigration one, let me just say. Change the definition of hate crime. The CPS, Crime Prosecution Service, and police definition of hate crime has led to systemic bias. Members of the British public must not be investigated because of any personally perceived hate crime that has been committed. Free speech to offend people. Cut funding to universities that undermine free speech. We're raising a new generation. Teach them about free speech. Don't be a wimp. All they're saying is they disagree with you. You don't have to go and hate them as a result. You just think differently. The Government Free Speech Act is toothless. Allowing political bias or cancel culture must face heavy financial penalties. And finally, page 22, if you'd like to follow along. Propose a comprehensive free speech bill. Okay? So, vote reform, work for reform, we can get reform. We can save our democracy. The bees show us how. Immigration, free speech, it's in here. What's the final one? I wonder if you can guess. It's actually seasons. What I've learned as a beekeeper is, today, the bees I see today, in a year's time, they'll all be different. A summer bee lives for 6 weeks. An autumn bee born in September has to survive 6 months to the next spring when the new bees are born. So their season is a year. As a beekeeper, I have to work with that. I'm the politician. I have to help that hive survive by doing things they often don't like. Sometimes I have to contract the hive down. Sometimes I have to move the boxes around. Sometimes there's dearth out there, not enough honey, nectar. So they're starving, so I have to give them honey. So as a beekeeper, sometimes they have to do things they don't like. And guess what they want to do? They want to sting me. Sometimes politicians have to make these tough decisions for the group and the hive. Seasons. We understand seasons in our own lives, don't we? Childhood, spring, new beginnings, learning new things, discovering who you are, what you can do, what you like, what you can't do. Young adulthood, time of passion, maximum energy. Now I'm getting older, I understand maximum energy. New relationships, developing a career, learning to become part of the hive and contributing. Middle age, time for reflection. Hopefully enjoying the fruits of your labours and preparing for the final season in our lives, which is winter. A time for rest, a time for storytelling, a time for handing on to the next generation that knowledge and wisdom that you have accumulated through a lifetime. Tradition is not the worship of the ashes, it's the preservation of the fire. Our traditions matter, they've been handed on to us. Let us cherish those traditions. Okay, the beehive, our lives. What about nations? Do nations go through seasons? The Greeks and Romans certainly thought so. They called them seculae. They understood that nations rise and fall. They are born, they mature, they grow, then they ossify, and then they hit a crisis. Anybody know the fourth turning? Two professors, 1997, fantastic book, talks about, looking at it from the American perspective, every 80 to 90 years, every culture will go through these seasons. They say that we are heading for a crisis now. Last war, the golden generation as it were, 1914 to 1945. New things came from that. NHS was born. New institutions, new hope, a new world, United Nations, we're all going to do fantastic. 60s and 70s are questioning the old ways. Then the ossifying, the bureaucracy growing up and no longer being trusted by the people. Do we trust the police? Do we trust our politicians? Yeah. A loss of trust and into a crisis where we either reform or it collapses. And they say there's no guarantee. There are many examples in history where nations fall. A nation at the end of the day is a hive. It's an idea. It's a community of people who agree we are together in this. So there are these seasons and turning. Crisis, but opportunity and reform gives us hope. What sort of leader do you need at that time? Have you heard the phrase, strong men give rise to good times? Good times give rise to weak men. Weak men give rise to bad times. Unfortunately, our leaders are jellyfish. They're not leaders. They have no vision to offer us. We need strong leaders with vision, with courage, because change involves pain, and people who are benefiting from the current systems are going to scream blue murder, particularly the lawyers. Not got anything particularly against lawyers if you're a lawyer, but and apologies to all jellyfish out there, by the way. I think reform has the vision for us to see this nation into a new era of peace and prosperity. It won't be easy. It'll be fought for, maybe not on the beaches, but it'll be fought in the corridors of powers. It'll be fought in the offices. It'll be fought on the streets in our conversations. It'll be fought in the pubs. It'll be fought online. Yeah? And we all have a role to play that if we are to renew and reform our nation. I'm coming to the end. Henrietta's not gone off yet. I'm doing okay, am I?
She's gone off.
She's gone off. Am I okay?
Yeah.
Got 2 stories for you. It's a bit of a personal note. Can you see the cameras here? They're not for me. They're not for you, because I have another label. I'm a grandfather. In the last 3 years, my children have produced 6 grandchildren. 4 boys, 2 girls. Way to go, kids. And I woke up in the middle of the night one night, and I had a nightmare. And the conversation went like this. 20 years from now, my grandson comes to me and he says, "Grandad, I can't get a job." I said, "Why can't you get a job?" He says, "Well, I'm white, I'm a male, I'm the wrong sex, I'm the wrong religion." I said, "Well, did you work hard at school?" "Look, I've worked hard, I've got top grades, but the fact I'm really good doesn't seem to matter." He said, "I'm thinking of identifying as a woman, transgender, because then I might get a job." I have a dream that he comes to me and he says in 20 years' time, "Thank you for giving up your yesterday for my today." Yeah, because it's going to take 10, 20 years to renew this nation. My final story is, I did a bit of leaflet dropping up in Chesterfield. Good old Josh, he got in. And as I was delivering some leaflets, it's bad on the hand sometimes, isn't it? I might take gloves next time. I was just putting this piece of paper through this box, and I started to get a bit down about an hour into it. So I thought, here I am, I'm a bloody GP. Many things, my list of things to do was pretty big. What am I doing? And I remember this story I'm going to share with you. And it was, imagine you're going along a street and you see some open doors to a factory. And there's noise and things. And you look inside and you see a man. And he's got this little hot metal nail. He's putting it into a hole, and with a hammer he's going dunk. And then grabs another one, hot metal nail, into a hole. Ka-dunk! And he looks very sad. And that's how I was feeling. And you go up to him and say, "What are you doing?" He says, "Oh, I'm a riveter. That's what I'm doing." Dunk! And then you spy a guy nearby who's doing exactly the same job, but he's singing. And he's happy. So you go up and say, "What are you doing, sir?" He says, "Oh, I'm building an ocean-going liner." Yeah? It's how we think about these little tasks, like coming on a Wednesday night. You could be watching telly. There are many things you could be doing, aren't there? Many things I could be doing. I've had a long day at work. I have a long day tomorrow. I haven't eaten yet. But I want to reform a nation. And it's going to cost us. But remember what we are doing. All those little nails, together, bit by bit, we can reform. Be the change. Vote reform, join reform, work for reform. Thank you.